Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered how our brains make sense of new words, especially in a language like Chinese with its thousands of characters? Today, we're diving into how readers figure out the meaning of brand new Chinese compound words, even when some of the characters have multiple meanings. Think about it. In English, we might combine existing words to make new ones, like smartphone. But in Chinese, it is even more common. Most words are built from two or more characters, and when new words pop up, they're usually just combinations of these characters. This is super interesting because many Chinese characters can mean different things depending on the company they keep. For example, one character might mean flower in one word, but to spend in another. So how do we navigate this when we see a completely new word we've never encountered before? This is the big question this research tackles. The researchers wanted to see how both a computer model and actual human readers figure out the meaning of these new, made-up Chinese words. They focused on words made from two characters, where at least one of those characters could mean more than one thing. Their core idea was to look at something called family semantic consistency. This sounds complicated, but it's basically a way to measure how reliably a character's meaning stays the same across all the different words it's used in. If a character usually means the same thing, it has high consistency. If it means different things a lot, it has low consistency. First, they built a computer model. Think of this model as a super smart language learner that has read a massive amount of Chinese text. This model can learn the meanings of characters and words based on how they're used together. They fed this model a huge list of made-up Chinese compound words. For each word, the model tried to figure out its meaning by combining the meanings of its two characters. And here is what they found with the computer model. It turned out that the model paid more attention to characters that were more consistent in their meaning. If a character reliably meant one thing across many words, the model relied on it heavily to understand the new word. If a character was inconsistent, meaning it had many different meanings, the model tended to downplay its contribution. It was like the model was saying, okay, this character is a bit tricky, it'll put more weight on the one I can trust more. This happened regardless of whether it was the first or second character in the pair. But does this hold true for humans? To find out, they moved on to study two with real people. They recruited native Chinese speakers and showed them these same made-up compound words. Their task was pretty cool. They had to come up with an existing real Chinese compound word that meant something similar to the made-up one. This was their way of getting people to express their understanding of the new word's meaning. And guess what? Humans behaved very much like the computer model. When participants had to come up with a synonym for a new word, they also relied more on the characters that had a consistent meaning. If a character was usually reliable, it strongly influenced the synonym they chose. If it was inconsistent, it had less influence. This means our brains, just like the computer, look for those dependable building blocks when trying to make sense of something new. They found that if the first character was highly consistent, it influenced the synonym more. Similarly, if the second character was highly consistent, it also had a bigger impact. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Studies 1 and 2 showed that we prefer consistent characters. But what happens to those inconsistent, ambiguous characters? Do we just ignore them? Study 3 explored this. They took characters that were known to be ambiguous and paired them with either a highly consistent character or a less consistent character. Then, they asked participants to focus on the meaning of that ambiguous character specifically within the context of the new compound word. Their finding here was really insightful. When the ambiguous character was paired with a highly consistent character, people were much more in agreement about what the ambiguous character meant in that context. It was like the consistent character acted as a guide, an anchor, helping everyone to settle on a similar interpretation for the tricky character. They found that when the accompanying character was very reliable in its meaning, people were more likely to agree on what the ambiguous character meant. This means inconsistent characters aren't just ignored. They can be understood if they have a good, reliable partner. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, it seems our brains are incredibly good at spotting patterns. When we encounter a new word, we don't just guess randomly. We lean on our past experiences with characters, noticing which ones tend to mean the same thing over and over. These consistent characters become reliable cues, helping us to not only understand the whole word, but also to figure out the context-specific meaning of characters that might be more ambiguous. This has huge implications for how we learn new words. In Chinese, new words are constantly being created. This research suggests that even with ambiguous characters, the system is set up to be learnable. Most new words will likely have at least one character that is relatively consistent in its meaning. This consistent character can act as a helpful anchor, allowing us to decode the meaning of the less consistent one. It's like having a reliable friend in a new place who helps you navigate the unfamiliar. Scroll figure 4, medium to low frequency Chinese compound words with low family semantic consistency. In both positions, scroll looking at the data. It seems that only a small percentage of medium to low frequency Chinese compound words actually have both characters being low in semantic consistency. This means that for the vast majority of new words, learners can rely on at least one character to help them figure out the meaning. This makes the Chinese writing system, despite its complexity, potentially more systematic and learnable than it might initially appear. The researchers also used some neat tools like computer models and statistical analysis of how people describe meanings. They were able to quantify how similar people's interpretations were, which is a really smart way to study something as subjective as word meaning. In a nutshell, this research shows that our brains are adaptive meaning-making machines. When we encounter a new word, we don't just have a static dictionary in our heads. Instead, we dynamically combine knowledge, weighing the reliability of the parts to construct a coherent meaning. This flexibility and reliance on learned patterns are key to understanding new words, and in the long run, to how we learn and process language itself. It's a testament to the clever ways our minds navigate complexity. What do you all think? Does this make sense with your own experiences learning new words? Whether in Chinese or other languages, let me know in the comments below. And if you found this fascinating, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the amazing world of the mind. See you next time!